There is a subtle, invisible law at work in the universe, which states that the energy we allow into our lives will multiply and return to us. When we spend our days in the presence of those who are endlessly dissatisfied, who moan about circumstances, who see problems where there are solutions, we absorb a vibration that is not ours to hold. It is not merely unpleasant, it is spiritually corrosive. A chronic complainer may appear harmless at first, their stories seeming merely human, yet their energy is like a slow poison. Every word spoken is a tiny seed of discontent, planted in the fertile soil of your consciousness. You may not realize it immediately, but slowly, subtly, your own thoughts begin to mirror their dissatisfaction. You begin to see obstacles where there were opportunities, setbacks where there were blessings, and limitation where there was abundance. To remove such people from your life is not an act of cruelty, but of self-preservation. The universe has no partiality for complaint. It responds to thought, to intention, to the vibration of our being. When you surround yourself with those who focus on what is wrong rather than what is right, you anchor yourself in lack. Your words and thoughts are mirrors to the unseen forces at work, and chronic complainers are mirrors of limitation. You must learn to recognize them, not in judgment, but in awareness. When they begin their habitual laments, you must consciously disengage, knowing that to listen is to participate in their drama. Consider your mind a temple. Every thought, every spoken word, every emotional response adds a brick to its structure. Why allow someone to build walls of sorrow and despair within you? The universe responds to the purity of your vibration. Surround yourself with joy, with gratitude, with faith, and you invite prosperity and peace. The chronic complainer, intentionally or not, shakes that foundation. Your prayers, your affirmations, your visions of success, love, and happiness cannot flourish where discontent lingers. When you consciously step away from those who complain, you honor the sacred laws of life. You honor yourself. You allow the law of abundance to flow unhindered. In every interaction, observe the subtle currents. If words leave you feeling depleted, tense, or doubtful, recognize this as a signal. The universe is speaking through your own sensations. Life will present you with many souls, some of whom are on a lower frequency than your own. That is not their fault, nor yours. It is simply a law of vibration. It is not enough to simply wish them well. You must also protect your own aura. The chronic complainer is a thief, stealing the joy that is rightfully yours. You need not confront or argue. Simply rise above. Do not engage. Walk lightly, but with firm intent, choosing those whose words uplift and whose hearts resonate with your own desires for growth. When you remove these souls from your inner circle, you will notice an immediate lifting of spirit, a clarity of thought, a lightness in your step. Your mind will be free to focus on solutions, on blessings, on the harmonious flow of life that is always seeking to serve you. In their absence, your energy is returned to you, and the universe conspires to fill your days with encouragement, joy, and prosperity. The chronic complainer cannot touch you if you do not allow it. Guard your temple, watch your thoughts, and let your heart be open only to those who affirm life, who celebrate possibility, and who awaken your own higher potential. There is a subtle form of darkness in the world, often hidden beneath charm, flattery, or seemingly innocent gestures. The manipulator is an artist of illusion, bending truth to their own advantage, shaping perception like a sculptor shapes clay. To encounter such a person is to enter a field of invisible traps, each designed to sway your mind, weaken your resolve, and compromise your integrity. The law of life is clear. Your thoughts and your intentions create your reality. When a manipulator enters your life, they interfere with this sacred process, placing obstacles not of the universe's making but of their own cunning. Manipulators are not always obvious. Some smile while cutting you down with words, others guide you through kindness while secretly plotting self-interest. Their energy is heavy, like waterlogged soil, and if you remain too long in their presence, your own vision becomes clouded. Decisions that once came easily are now filled with doubt. Your instincts, those subtle whispers from the universe, become confused by the push and pull of hidden agendas. You may think you are being generous, accommodating, or understanding, but in truth, you are being used as a pawn in a game you did not consent to. The first step in protecting yourself is awareness. Learn to read beyond the surface. Observe patterns, not isolated incidents. The manipulator will consistently seek to exploit weaknesses, to divide and conquer, to evoke fear or guilt where none belongs. Recognize the signs, not with anger but with clear discernment. Then, take action. Set firm boundaries. Refuse to participate in deception or drama. Speak truth when necessary, but understand that some battles are won through quiet disengagement, through the conscious choice not to be ensnared. Energy, like water, flows to where it is allowed. Do not permit a manipulator to redirect your focus, your effort, your life force. Every encounter leaves a residue of vibration upon your soul. Choose to leave interactions intact with grace, but do not leave your personal power behind. When you do so, you align with the invisible laws that govern success, love, and abundance. The universe respects those who honor themselves, who refuse to be instruments in another's game. Manipulators often attempt to appeal to your emotions, claiming need, distress, or dependence. Yet, the higher law teaches that true generosity comes from clarity, discernment, and a desire to support rather than be controlled. When you rise above manipulation, you cultivate a purity of intent that cannot be corrupted. Your life becomes a beacon, attracting honesty, sincerity, and loyalty. In their absence, you discover the freedom to create, the clarity to see the right paths, and the joy of knowing your power remains untouched by cunning forces. Envy is a corrosive poison of the soul. It is often hidden behind a mask of friendship, civility, or admiration. The envious cannot rejoice in your success. They cannot clap when you triumph. Instead, they measure their own worth against yours and seek to diminish your light in order to soothe their own insecurity. The universe is governed by the law of abundance, which states that there is enough for all. Yet the envious live as if the universe is a limited company. Intainer, and they are determined that you shall not drink from it while they go thirsty. To spend time in the company of envy is to invite shadow into your own heart. The envious reflect back the fears and doubts that you may not even realize you hold. They whisper of limitations, scarcity, and misfortune, attempting to infect your thoughts with their own discontent. Their subtle criticisms, backhanded compliments, and quiet comparisons are all tools to destabilize your faith in yourself and your path. The first step in safeguarding your life from envy is recognition. Observe the energy of those around you. Does their presence uplift you, inspire you, and encourage growth? Or does it leave you questioning, doubting, or feeling small? When the answer is the latter, take action immediately. Distance yourself. Preserve your joy. Celebrate your own achievements quietly if necessary, and cultivate friendships with those who can rejoice in your abundance without question. The envious are rarely aware of their own destructive energy. They act from a place of fear and lack. You, however, act from a place of conscious choice. The universe rewards those who honor the law of gratitude, who give and receive freely, and who refuse to participate in comparison or jealousy. By removing envy from your inner circle, you create a fertile environment for your dreams to grow. Your accomplishments, your joy, your prosperity become magnets for like-minded souls who support rather than diminish. Remember that your life is a reflection of your thoughts, feelings, and associations. Every person you allow close to your mind and heart has the power to shape your reality. Envy, though quiet and often masked, is a powerful drain. Do not allow it to touch the sacred space within you. Instead, seek those who uplift, who celebrate, who embody the abundance and joy that you wish to experience. Your world will respond in kind, multiplying blessings beyond what you imagined possible. There is a subtle, invisible law at work in the universe, which governs the energy we allow into our lives. Every thought, every word, every interaction carries a vibration that resonates far beyond the moment, touching unseen dimensions of our being. Among the most dangerous of these influences are the chronic complainers, those who wander through life with a cloud of dissatisfaction overhead, casting shadows upon all who enter their orbit. At first, their presence may seem harmless, even familiar, for they are often close friends, relatives, or colleagues whose voice we have grown accustomed to hearing. Yet their habitual negativity is not merely an annoyance. It is a drain upon the vital life force that animates your own soul. You may not notice it immediately, for the erosion of your energy is subtle, almost imperceptible, but over time the accumulation of their discontent can weaken your resolve, cloud your vision, and dull the sharpness of your spiritual awareness. Each complaint they utter is like a tiny seed, falling into the fertile soil of your consciousness, and if left unattended, it takes root and begins to grow, drawing nourishment from your own thoughts and emotions, twisting them into patterns of doubt, fear, and frustration that do not belong to you. The chronic complainer does not merely focus on challenges, they magnify them, transforming small inconveniences into insurmountable problems, ordinary setbacks into epic failures. Their words, though spoken casually, carry weight, for the universe responds to the vibration of energy rather than the literal content of speech. When you remain in the presence of persistent negativity, the law of attraction silently works to bring more of the same into your life. Opportunities appear to vanish, obstacles feel heavier, and the flow of abundance slows, not because the universe is cruel, but because your consciousness has been tuned to a frequency that attracts limitation rather than possibility. You may notice yourself repeating their patterns, echoing their complaints, even when circumstances are neutral or favorable, and in this the subtle theft of your joy occurs. It is crucial to understand that disengaging from chronic complainers is not an act of harshness or judgment. It is an act of spiritual self-preservation, a recognition that your energy field is sacred, and that to allow the continuous transmission of discontent is to invite imbalance into your life. The universe has no partiality for complaint. It honors clarity, gratitude, and alignment with higher purpose. When you consciously choose to step away from habitual negativity, you are not rejecting the person in their entirety, but you are refusing to participate in their vibration of limitation. This is a form of empowerment, a declaration that your mind, your heart, and your intentions are too valuable to be squandered on the shadows of another's dissatisfaction. Observe the subtle effects of their presence. Notice how your thoughts begin to twist in patterns that are not of your own making. A minor inconvenience becomes a catastrophe in your mind. A temporary delay seems like an eternal blockade, and your inner voice of faith is drowned by echoes of complaint. The chronic complainer acts as a mirror, reflecting back fears and doubts that may have lain dormant within you, and if left unchecked, these reflections can shape your reality, transforming imagination into lived experience. The spiritual laws of life are impartial and consistent. They respond to the energy you radiate, not the desire you express. If your mind vibrates with dissatisfaction, the universe will supply circumstances and people that match that frequency, reinforcing the very patterns you seek to escape. Therefore, it becomes essential to cultivate discernment, to recognize the signs of energy depletion before they manifest as challenges in your external life. Every encounter, every conversation is a choice. When someone repeatedly speaks in tones of despair, resistance, or resentment, it is a clear signal from the universe, a whisper to protect your own consciousness. You do not need to respond, argue, or correct, simply choose to disengage. In moments where separation is not immediately possible, learn to mentally shield yourself. Imagine a luminous barrier of light surrounding your being, allowing words and intentions to pass through without entering your inner field. This visualization is not fanciful, it is a practical application of the spiritual truth that energy can be directed and controlled, and that your consciousness is a sanctuary that must be defended. The chronic complainer often operates from a place of unconscious fear and insecurity. Their voice may carry urgency, seeking validation or sympathy, yet the result is always the same. Your own life force becomes entangled in their turmoil. Recognizing this truth does not necessitate resentment or condemnation. On the contrary, it is a compassionate understanding that they are expressing an inner condition that is theirs to resolve. Your task is not to rescue them, but to honor the divine law of your own alignment. To maintain your own vibration of abundance, health, and joy, you must become selective in the company you keep. Surround yourself with those who uplift, who celebrate life, who see opportunity rather than limitation. Their energy will act as fuel for your dreams, inspiration for your actions, and reinforcement for the faith that you carry. Rye in the unseen laws of the universe. Consider the mind as a sacred garden. Every thought you allow to linger is a seed, and every word you absorb is water to that seed. The chronic complainer brings seeds of bitterness, seeds of frustration, and seeds of limitation. If unattended, these seeds grow, sprouting doubts and fears that take root in your consciousness. But when you recognize the danger and act with conscious choice, you remove these seeds before they germinate. You plant instead seeds of gratitude, joy, and expectation. You nurture your own garden, cultivating thoughts that align with abundance, harmony, and divine guidance. In doing so, you transform not only your internal world, but the external circumstances that reflect your inner state. As you practice this awareness, you will notice a shift in your own capacity to engage with life. You become more discerning, more present, and more aligned with the divine flow that governs prosperity, success, and joy. Your energy is no longer depleted by the shadows of complaint, but strengthened by the light of your own focused intention. Opportunities begin to appear more clearly, obstacles dissolve with ease, and your inner guidance becomes unmistakable. The chronic complainer loses power over you because their energy no longer resonates within your field. In their absence, your thoughts are free to create, your spirit free to expand, and your life free to manifest the abundance that is your divine right. Among the most subtle and dangerous influences in life are the manipulators, those who conceal their intentions beneath charm, flattery, or seemingly innocent gestures, yet whose purpose is to bend reality to their own advantage. The manipulator is not always obvious, for they often appear as friends, colleagues, or advisors whose words feel helpful and whose guidance seems sincere. Yet beneath this veneer lies an intent to control, to influence, and to divert your energy toward outcomes that serve their own ends rather than your highest good. Life responds to the vibration of thought and intention, and manipulators seek to impose a frequency that is not yours, distorting the natural law of creation by attempting to steer your mind, your decisions, and your emotions. The universe provides abundance, opportunity, and divine guidance to those who remain aligned with truth, clarity, and the higher law. Yet the manipulator interferes by sowing confusion, doubt, and self-questioning, turning the simple into the complicated, the clear into the obscure. The first and most important step in protecting yourself is awareness. Learn to read beyond words, to sense the subtle undercurrent beneath actions and speech. Manipulators often appeal to emotion rather than reason, framing situations in ways that evoke guilt, obligation, fear, or flattery. Their charm may be intoxicating, their persuasion persuasive, yet each interaction carries a hidden cost: the gradual erosion of your independence, the subtle realignment of your priorities to suit another's desires. You may feel compelled to act out of politeness, loyalty, or empathy, yet these responses, though seemingly noble, can bind your energy and weaken the clarity of your vision. Recognize this pattern not with anger or judgment, but with careful observation, understanding that the manipulator is acting from a place of imbalance and lack, and that it is your responsibility to preserve the integrity of your own vibration. Manipulation thrives in environments where boundaries are weak or undefined. Many people unconsciously allow others to influence their thoughts and decisions because they are accustomed to pleasing, accommodating, or avoiding conflict. Yet each concession, each bending to another's will, even when small, chips away at your personal power. Energy, like water, flows where it is permitted. If you allow a manipulator to redirect your focus, your time, or your emotional resources, you are in essence opening a channel for their influence to seep into the unseen currents that govern your life. To prevent this, one must cultivate the art of firm yet graceful boundaries. This does not require confrontation or hostility. It requires discernment, clarity, and a conscious choice to engage only on terms that honor your own integrity. Manipulators often disguise their intentions with kindness, presenting themselves as guides, allies, or even benefactors. They may offer advice that seems helpful, suggest opportunities that appear advantageous, or frame choices in a way that feels like support. Yet the universe teaches that true help never diminishes your power, never imposes upon your free will, and never distracts you from your own alignment. The subtle hallmark of manipulation is the feeling of unease, confusion, or obligation that follows an interaction. The manipulator's success relies on your acquiescence, on the unconscious absorption of their energy, and on your own hesitation to assert your divine right to clarity and self-determination. Learning to trust your inner guidance, your intuition, and the quiet whisper of the universe becomes essential in identifying and disengaging from manipulation. The manipulator may also employ comparison and subtle criticism to influence your perception of yourself. They may highlight your weaknesses, question your decisions, or frame your successes in ways that provoke doubt. This is not a reflection of your value, but a reflection of their own scarcity and fear. When you internalize these messages, you align yourself with limitation rather than abundance. The law of life is impartial. It responds not to intention alone, but to the energy you radiate. If you absorb the manipulator's doubts, you are sending a signal to the universe that scarcity, conflict, and obstruction are appropriate for your life. Recognizing this allows you to step back, release the energy, and restore alignment with the divine flow that seeks to bring clarity, support, and opportunity into your world. Disengagement from manipulators is not merely a physical act, though distance may be necessary. It is primarily a spiritual and mental practice. You may be in circumstances where complete separation is impossible, such as a workplace or family setting, yet even then, you can protect your energy. Imagine your consciousness as a radiant sphere of light, impervious to intrusion, within which only thoughts and intentions that serve your highest good may enter. In this sacred space, the manipulator's influence cannot take hold. By visualizing this protection, by consciously affirming your alignment with truth and divine law, you create a shield that allows interactions to occur without the loss of your personal power. Over time, this practice strengthens your discernment, sharpens your intuition, and trains your mind to recognize subtle attempts at influence before they can affect your vibration. It is also important to understand the manipulator's behavior from a place of compassion rather than resentment. They act from fear, insecurity, and the perception that they must control others to secure their own sense of safety. This awareness allows you to detach from emotional reaction while maintaining firm boundaries. By responding with clarity and grace, you refuse to become entangled in their web, preserving your energy for constructive, empowering pursuits. The universe always supports those who act from alignment, not reaction, and by maintaining our integrity, you allow circumstances and people to enter your life that reflect your higher vibration. When you remove manipulators from your inner circle, you will notice an immediate shift in the flow of your life. Decisions that once felt clouded become clear. Opportunities that were obscured reveal themselves, and your confidence in your own intuition strengthens. Energy once spent navigating the subtle traps of manipulation is now available to fuel your creative, spiritual, and material endeavors. You are free to align fully with the abundance of life, to act with certainty, and to cultivate relationships that are honest, supportive, and harmonious. The universe rewards those who honor their personal power, who protect their consciousness, and who engage only in interactions that amplify rather than diminish their vibration. Every encounter you have leaves a residue, a subtle imprint on your consciousness. Manipulators leave patterns of uncertainty, doubt, and distraction, and if allowed, these patterns can shape the trajectory of your life in ways that do not serve your highest purpose. By recognizing their influence, by asserting your boundaries, and by consciously maintaining alignment with truth, you neutralize these patterns and reclaim the power that is rightfully yours. The law of cause and effect, of thought and manifestation, always operates, and by choosing to preserve your clarity, you ensure that your actions, your intentions, and your creations are guided by wisdom rather than external pressure, by light rather than shadow, by love rather than manipulation. Among the most subtle and corrosive forces that can affect your life are the envious, those whose hearts cannot rejoice in the success, abundance, or happiness of others. They may smile when you share good news. They may nod in agreement when you celebrate a victory. Yet within, a quiet storm of resentment and comparison rages. Envy is not merely an emotion, it is a vibration, a subtle energy that travels unseen, affecting the consciousness of those it touches. Life responds to these vibrations, reflecting back to each person the energy they project and absorb. When you spend time with the envious, When you allow them to dwell in your proximity, their energy can seep into your mind and heart, planting seeds of doubt, fear, and limitation. You may begin to question your own worth, your own abilities, or the validity of your achievements, not because there is truth to their discontent, but because the universe mirrors the energy that surrounds it. The envious operate from a place of lack, believing that another's success diminishes their own possibility, yet the higher law teaches that abundance is infinite, and that one person's joy does not reduce another's blessing. To protect yourself from envy, it is essential to cultivate awareness. Observe the subtle signs in interactions with others. Does their presence leave you feeling diminished, uneasy, or uncertain? Do their words carry a subtle undertone of criticism, comparison, or disbelief in your potential? These are not coincidences, but signals from the unseen world, guiding you to safeguard your own vibration. Just as a gardener removes weeds that threaten to choke the growth of tender plants, you must remove envious influences from your life before they take root in your consciousness. This does not require confrontation or hostility. It requires discernment, conscious choice, and the willingness to preserve your spiritual and emotional well-being. Envy often masquerades as concern, advice, or guidance. The envious may offer suggestions that seem helpful or warnings that appear protective, yet these messages are infused with subtle resistance to your advancement. Their perspective is limited by their own insecurities, and they unconsciously attempt to shape your reality according to their restricted view of what is possible. When you internalize such advice, you align yourself with limitation, and the creative power of your own mind becomes constrained by the invisible chains of someone else's fear. The universe always responds to the clarity, confidence, and intention of your own thoughts. By maintaining alignment with your purpose and refusing to absorb the vibration of envy, you keep your energy free and your mind clear, allowing divine guidance to flow unhindered. It is helpful to understand that the envious are not inherently malicious. They act from scarcity, from fear, from a belief that life is a finite container in which not everyone can thrive. Their inability to celebrate others is a reflection of their own inner state rather than a judgment upon your worth or achievements. Recognizing this allows you to respond with compassion rather than anger, detachment rather than engagement, and affirmation rather than defensiveness. By cultivating empathy, you honor the law of spiritual understanding, seeing the envious as souls struggling with limitation while simultaneously preserving your own energy and clarity. The impact of envy is often cumulative and subtle. Unlike the chronic complainer, whose negativity is overt and easily recognized, the envious can appear outwardly supportive, yet their energy quietly undermines. Their subtle comparisons, offhand remarks, and quiet sighs of disapproval act as shadows upon your vision, subtly shifting your focus from possibility to limitation. Life will test your ability to maintain alignment, to uphold your vibration, and to protect your consciousness from the influence of those who cannot see the infinite nature of abundance. Each time you encounter envy, you are presented with an opportunity to strengthen your inner discernment, to assert your personal power, and to align more fully with the law of divine prosperity that governs all creation. One practical method to shield yourself from the influence of envy is conscious visualization. Imagine a radiant sphere of light surrounding your being, within which only energy that supports your highest good may enter. See this light as impenetrable to subtle negativity, reflecting back any vibrations that seek to disturb your alignment. Affirm silently that your joy, success, and prosperity belong to you by divine law and are not diminished by the limitations or insecurities of others. This practice is not fanciful imagination. It is a spiritual exercise in alignment, a declaration of your right to inhabit a space of freedom, clarity, and abundance. The more consistently you apply this practice, the more automatic it becomes, and the less influence the envious can exert over your mind and heart. Another essential principle is the cultivation of gratitude and celebration for all forms of abundance. By affirming the law of plenty, by recognizing that life is unlimited and that success is not a zero-sum game, you create an internal vibration that naturally repels envy. When you celebrate your achievements quietly or openly, with clarity and without fear of judgment, You signal to the universe that you are aligned with the law of prosperity and that your energy cannot be diminished by another's limitation. This alignment acts as a magnet, drawing into your life those who can rejoice with you, support you, and amplify your joy while gent. By distancing those whose energy is incompatible with your own growth. Spiritual discernment is a gift that allows you to recognize which relationships serve your purpose and which do not. The envious, though often present in family, social, or professional circles, can be managed by conscious choice, by affirming your boundaries, and by maintaining your inner alignment. You are not called to cut off every soul who struggles with jealousy, but to protect your own consciousness from the subtle erosion that envy brings. Surround yourself instead with those whose hearts can rejoice in your victories, whose words uplift, whose energy mirrors abundance, and whose presence inspires rather than diminishes. In such an environment, your dreams take root, your intentions manifest, and your life flows with ease, clarity, and divine support. When you actively remove envy from your inner circle, your mental clarity and emotional balance expand. You notice decisions becoming easier, actions becoming more confident, and ideas flowing with less resistance. Your creative faculties, previously distracted by the subtle interference of comparison and resentment, become fully available to the expression of your highest purpose. Life begins to mirror this alignment, presenting opportunities, relationships, and experiences that reflect the untainted energy you maintain. The law of cause and effect, of thought and manifestation, operates consistently, rewarding those who act from alignment, clarity, and divine understanding. By maintaining your focus on abundance, gratitude, and joy, you ensure that the energy surrounding you is harmonious, supportive, and empowering, while subtly dissolving the influence of those who cannot rejoice in your prosperity.